What's good, man? What's good, everybody? What's good, man? Happy Thursday. We almost at the weekend again. Happy Thursday, yo. Happy Thursday. Man, how's everybody doing? Man? We're going to get right into it in just 1 second, man. Yes, sir, Ski. I hope everybody's had a fantastic day so far. And welcome to another episode of the Jayson Estrera Show, where we talk about basketball, sports, and anything that comes our way as accurate as possible. And today, we are going to stray a little bit away from USA basketball talk, and we are going to be talking about whether or not NBA trainers are overrated or not. Do they need them? Are they necessary? Or have they become a trendy new thing in this space? We'll also be talking about championships or cash with regards to the Carmelo Anthony topic when he was talking about potentially joining LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. So we'll be talking about that as well. But first, and I listen, I didn't think I'd ever be saying a sentence like this. Right? But
are y'all about to jump over?
But we gotta do it, man. So let me see, where do I have this?
Are y'all about to jump over my? I love you, Dad.
I'm gonna do it like this. Where is this at? Bam. Bam. Boom. Cool. Alright, so who did it better? ISO Speed or Kobe Bryant?
Are y'all about to jump over my Ronaldo? First person in the world. Come on. No! First person in the world. Everybody like.
So that's Speed, and this is Kobe.
Alright, do not try what I'm about to attempt right now. Don't worry about it. I got it. I will be there.
My guy Ronnie Turiev.
I got this. You trust your boy? Come on, man. Hey, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Just watch what I do, man. Come on, bring it down. I told you.
Alright, so who did it better, Speed or Kobe Bryant? Now, Kobe's the OG. Kobe original, and if no one's ever seen this, he jumped over a snake. Kobe Bryant was doing wild shit. He was doing wild shit. Let's see if I pull this up. Let's pull this up real quick. If y'all don't know,
This is crazy. So we saw you jump the Aston Martin, Kobe, and
Aston Martin.
All right, but what'd you have really to lose on that one? You get hit by a car, right. Miss a few games, big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, Jed Garcia now. You know. We gotta have fun, Kobe. What happened?
I just swallowed snake skin.
Let me get to this shit. So if you guys have never seen that, those just classics, Aston Martin jump, the pool jump, of course I gotta go with my guy Kobe Bean Bryant, my guy Kobe. I gotta go with Kobe. He's the original. I will say this though. Got some good quality work. Speed. That shit look great. Your pops was driving it. I know he came from playing 2K. So for the idiot that everyone thinks Speed is, and I'm sure he could be an idiot, like we all can, right? He's very aware as well. He knows what he was doing. He was paying homage to the late great Kobe Bryant. God rest his soul. So man, that was really cool. To see Speed do that was dope. It immediately, like I said, brought me back to the Kobe Bryant video, because obviously that's where he had gotten the inspiration from. But yeah, man, that was really cool to see. That was really cool. Rest in peace, Kobe, man. The greatest. But that was really dope for Speed, man, to do that. His pops was in it. He's been on this European tour. He had the Ronaldo. Like it all made sense. It was cool, man. It was cool. So moving right along now. The NBA, because it reported it was earlier this week, but let me clear this up. Bam. So the NBA signs a new deal with Amazon. The NBA signs its 11-year media rights deal with Disney, NBC, and Amazon Prime Video on Wednesday after saying it was not accepting Warner Brothers Discovery's $1.8 billion per year offer to continue its longtime relationship with the league. So, what the fuck? So, the NBA is now moving along with NBC, Amazon, and Disney, and they are going away from Warner and TNT. And obviously this is a big deal inside the NBA. This has been a talking point for the past month or so, all throughout the playoffs, because of the idea that we won't be watching basketball on TNT anymore. And to be honest with you, I had a feeling that this deal was over, because there was the report that came out, and I was talking about it I think a week ago, where they set out a timeline where there will be basketball games Monday through Sunday after the NFL season. And I was like, wait a second, it had nothing about TNT. It was a plan for NBC and Disney and Amazon Prime. And the fact that they had that laid out already, to me, was a signal that they were not just very close to the deal, but it was pretty much done. And I personally worry about this. And this is why, right? NBC, at the early part of the NBA, so what, the 90s, 2000s, when was the original NBC deal? Trying to find anything here. So I'm trying to find when they were under and when they had a deal prior to TNT, because that network in particular, NBC, and now you're adding Amazon and also Disney. Disney is a big part in this, right? Because I always felt like it was great for me growing up with NBC, because it was very family friendly. From the shows, the themes, their talking points, their jokes. It was very family and kid friendly. And for someone like me at this point in my life, and where the world has gone, TNT was perfect because it was unfiltered comedy with basketball takes. You know, you could say whatever you want about what the things that Charles might say sometimes, or the things that Shaq might say sometimes, but for the most part, Kenny Smith is very accurate, or at least he supports his stuff with valid evidence, right? And then other players that come in, whether it's Reggie or they try to back their things up with basketball things, right? And Charles and Shaq just be doing whatever sometimes. That feels very real. It feels very authentic, and it feels along with the times, right? I worry if we're gonna go into Disney, NBC, and Amazon, and it's gonna be this kid family friendly content that pushes away the older audience that's been watching the NBA. Is this gonna be like like Marvel is the more family friendly, it's funny, it's safer for families, versus, you know, Warner Brothers or DC Comics that does darker, you know, everything is darker, the movies, the shows, the topics, the jokes, everything is darker. Is this what this really is? And clearly a lot of the fan base has been loving TNT, but maybe this is their strategy. Maybe their strategy is to try to get back in touch with the younger audience, sort of like what they did back in the 80s and 90s for a lot of us, right? And maybe that's their angle. I wonder if it'll be effective, because like I said, if they're trying the same strategy from over 20 years ago, well, the world is a little bit different right now than what it was. And so I worry if they're going to try some of these things and they won't work, because there's just going to be a disconnect. And you have an audience you've fed them unfiltered content, funny jokes that we can all say at home, not, you know, dad jokes that are bleeped out. Like, we're moving towards this unfiltered, we could say fuck on the shows. Like, this is where we're heading towards, the podcasts, the live stream. I just worry that they're gonna go too far the other way. But maybe that's just me. They're signing a big ass deal. It seems like there's going to be more basketball more consistently. So I'm curious. I'm curious what it's going to look like moving forward. I'm also curious who from TNT is going to go over to the other side, right? Yeah, man, I just wonder all of that stuff. Isn't ESPN under the Disney umbrella? So now ESPN is fucking, they have I don't know what's going on, bro, but hey, man, a lot of things to look forward to. I saw a lot of people talking about they are going to be unhinged on Inside the NBA, and I would love it, because what are they going to do? Cancel them in their last year? That would be ridiculous. So it'd be funny to see what they come in with, what they're going to have moving forward. I already said if Charles Barkley, Shaq are going to keep something going, that it'll be in more of a podcast form, where they can meet up however many times. Maybe more like what was that old thing that they had with it was on NBA TV. And they had all the legends, and they would have like a couple episodes every couple months or so. Maybe it'll be something more like that, where they're not, their schedule isn't weekly like it is right now, right? They are getting older. Shaq already has a podcast, so his transition will probably be a little bit smoother. And yeah, I would assume that Kenny will probably switch over if they'll have him. But yeah, man, it sucks. No more Inside the NBA after this season. So yeah, I'm curious what kind of stuff that they'll have. They will have the old theme song from NBC though, so that's pretty cool. I grew up on that shit. Excuse me. So now, that's what I had already spoken about. We had already spoken about that, whether it's family friendly content or unfiltered comedy. So let's move on. Let's keep it pushing, man. Now, Carmelo Anthony was recently on, I don't know if this was on Paul George's podcast or whatnot, but I think it was on Paul George's podcast. And he was talking about
me and Braun, like, because we were out of me, him, and D-Wade. Like, it was me and him close, and then it was like me and D-Wade close, and then Braun and D-Wade was close, but we never was like all three, like locked in until we started going and getting old, you know what I mean? And then we had like experiences, played on the, world championship team. And I think that's when it kind of really started to like blossom. And I think it was because we lost together. We felt the same pain. We felt the same sentiment. So that brought us all three together. With Braun, it was always like, yo, we got to make it happen. Like, some way, somehow, opportunity comes, let's make it happen.
Excuse me.
We just never knew where. You going to New York? Like, Denver? Like, then the conversation got serious after like 06, 07, 08. Well, it was supposed to be Bosh and Wade, and then me and Braun, like going somewhere. We just couldn't find out where. We wanted it to be New York. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere. Or Chicago. Chicago was in the fold. If we gonna find a place, then let it be, go to Chicago. Like, I'm in Denver, you in Cleveland, free agency hit, let's try to make it work. So at the time of the collective bargaining agreement, I didn't understand contracts and 3 years, 5 years, you know what I mean? Like that, lockout. I knew a little bit, but I wasn't really business savvy enough to understand the deal. No, I'm locked into this 5 year beat. I'm winning. I'm in Denver. We building something. We got new powder blue uniforms. Like we popping out here. Right. So I don't want to leave this to go do something that I might regret later down the line. And also at that time, I wasn't ready to go partner and team up with nobody because I was building my own in Denver. So to leave my own and go team up with somebody, it wouldn't have worked because we were all young
and I was seeing a lot of people were talking about this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Yeah, a lot of people were talking about this, and this is why you never got a ring, or this is why this, and that. I think he put it into perspective, right? It's easy to look at it right now and say, oh, you should have done that. You'd have got a ring. You'd be one of the You'd be one of the greatest players ever. It's easy because you've seen how Carmelo Anthony's career is played out. You've seen how LeBron James's career is played out. You've seen how Dwayne Wade's career is played out. Chris Bosh. It's easy. But let's talk reality, right? Let's talk what actually happened. Chris Bosh, champion. And a lot of people forget this. Chris Bosh was the main guy in Toronto. He was a 20-10 guy. Face up, ISO, pull up mid-range, turnarounds, get to the cup. A lot of folks don't even remember that. Everyone remembers corner three-point shooting Chris Bosh. Go get a rebound, Chris Bosh. So, yes, he's remembered as a champion, but the type of player that a majority of people remember him as is a shell of who he actually was. No one ever remembers Toronto Raptors Chris Bosh. Now, Melo was talking about he had his own stuff brewing in Denver that he had been building. And everyone just dismisses this part, right? How about he actually thought he was going to win? How about he genuinely believed and had confidence in his own ability to get that team over the top and win a championship? everyone just dismisses that part, right? Like he was just going into the team saying, fuck it, we're going to lose this year. No, he was going out and getting 30 a game, hitting game winners, got his team to the Western Conference Finals, and ran up against Kobe Bryant. And they've said this, and I know it's a lot of what ifs, right? Had they beaten Kobe and the Lakers, I think there's a real good chance they beat the fuck out of the Orlando Magic that year. So then this whole narrative of, Carmelo Anthony's not a champion, he's not a winner, he couldn't make it there, they were right there. They lost to the champion. They lost to the team that eventually got the championship. I get that doesn't count for anything. But right there. And so for him, you got to think he's thinking the same thing. I'm good enough to get there. I could do this. I can lead a team and get there. I just ran up against Kobe fucking Bryant. That's probably what he was thinking. And when at his age at the time, scoring titles, MVP he's probably like, motherfucker, this is my shit. Like, what are you talking about? And I've heard the story before as well. They were going to go to New York. And he said it right there. Chicago was in the play. They were going to New York. The Knicks fucked up because they gave Amari a bag because they couldn't wait. That's why the LeBron James announcement was in New York. That's why everything was New York. Chris Broussard broke it, New York. Stephen A. Smith, New York. Everything around that situation had New York written all over it. And management, ownership, whoever it was, fucked up. Got cold feet. Said, I don't trust y'all. Not realizing these guys are friends. And I think that it kind of goes into this Jalen Brunson scenario, right? We talk about sacrifices and pay cuts, and we talk all of these things, right? I think a huge part of why Jalen Brunson did what he did is because it was for his friends. Not NBA friends. Not someone he met in the league. College friends. They spent real time together. Before their families. Got in trouble together. Won together. Fucked up together. Success together. These guys are real friends. They call each other all the time. Maybe the Knicks learned and used that as a part of the tool, the negotiating tool. This isn't just for any player in the league. These are your guys. And if it really was the Knicks that fucked up, and like we said, they would have ended up going to Miami or whatnot. And if Melo would have ended up being the third string, the jump shooter in the corner, how would his career have turned out? I don't think we would be talking about him as one of the greatest one-on-one players, one of the greatest offensive players that we have ever seen. They went into the Olympics and everybody was... Dwayne Wade played great in the 08 Olympics, right? Melo was massive. See, people don't realize how good he was of a shooter because he was always taking tough shots. It's kind of similar to Kobe. But standstill shots, cash. We wouldn't be talking about him the same. Melo is so revered in basketball circles and by a lot of fans because he put it out there. He was one of my favorite players. Got after it, aggressive, and hey man, Amari punched the hydrant. I mean, so many things happened, right? Different coaches on New York. When they say the basketball gods, I really think that they've really cursed the Knicks for a long time, and that's why it feels like we're due. But there is no way in hell Melo was gonna be a third or a fourth option. There's just no way. There's absolutely no way. Carmelo Anthony was special, and a lot of people blame him for a lot. You guys didn't watch the games. I'm sorry, you guys just didn't watch the games. Like, it just is what it is. But I think this leads me to, what is this? This leads me to this point where I think a lot of fans watch these games and they see names on a paper and names on the back of jerseys next to stats. And they disassociate the person that comes along with that, right? They're a basketball player for 2 to 3 hours of the day, right? For 2 to 3 hours of the day, Carmelo Anthony is Melo. For the rest of the day, he's Carmelo. To his family, his friends. I think, like I said, some people forget that he's a human and he's thinking in his head, he's like, I could do this. You've worked so hard all your life to be in this position. You've pictured yourself being the guy to lead a team. And fans think that it's so easy to just say, just sacrifice all of your shots, sacrifice all the fame, the being the guy. Just sacrifice all of that shit for a ring. Even though you might think you could do it yourself. I think too often, they just look at names on a sheet and stats. And just forget everything else that comes along with it. See, during these contract negotiations, like the Jalen Brunson thing, for example, right? It's easy for us to say, oh, he took a pay cut to go get a ring. Hasn't won one yet. Because what happens? Like, legitimately, what happens? You become an NBA champion. And this is something that they don't ever talk about, right? Because I saw someone say, oh, you get that money back right after for being a champion. You don't know how the fucking world works, bro. Just because you win an NBA championship doesn't all of a sudden mean you become a marketable person. Doesn't all of a sudden mean you can become a star in Hollywood or a star in Don't mean none of that shit. So, to say that he'll easily make $113 million back is laughable. Because you don't understand how this world works. You don't just make $113 million. Especially someone that earned it. He earned that bread. And I say this all the time. People want to say know your worth until someone actually gets what they're worth. And then somebody said, "I'll take a pay cut for whatever the fucking reason." But he played up to that. So why should he take a pay cut? He worked his ass off to get into that spot. And now you telling him not to take his bread? Because what happens if they don't end up winning a championship? What happens to that? At least he would have had the money for his family, for generational wealth. And like I said, okay, so they win a championship, right? Still not a marketable person, not a marketable player. You still don't have that $113 million. And Tim Duncan. Everyone says Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward ever. And then that's it. A lot of people don't even mention him in these GOAT debates, or no one gives a fuck. Because he was never a marketable person. See, when all of that stuff ends, Jalen Brunson could have used $113 million. I'm gonna just be honest. And everybody wants to act and pretend as if, oh, you're a bad person for taking that. No, you a bad person for trying to take it away from me. Because it's only in sports, right? Nobody ever says it about any, like, oh, when they get all these actors together in Hollywood and they say, "I'll take a pay cut." They'd be like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" Nobody says that shit. You got two artists coming on a song that, hey, take a little bit less because they're two stars. No, you pay me what the fuck I'm worth. But when it comes to sports, everybody gets in their feelings and everybody all of a sudden, yo, take a pay cut, do this, do that. Forgetting that after they step off the court, they still have a life to live. Like, what are we talking about here, bro? Like, amen. All right, let's see what we got. What we got next? And this is the topic. Let me see. Are NBA trainers overrated? And this is stemming from let's take a look at this.
It's a lost art that you do not see these days, is players go to the gym by themselves. Everyone has a personal trainer. Everyone has a workout guy because they see the pros have one, and now everyone needs to get one. Bro, I really realized this when I played for the Rockets. On off days, I'd go in the gym and I'd like work out with player development, or I'd have a trainer come in. And James would go to the gym by himself. And I'd be like, "James, you don't work with..." In the summertime, I'd ask him, I go, "Hey, who you working out with this summer?" This is prime MVP James Harden. He'd be like, "I'm not working out with anybody." I'd be like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I know my game better than anybody." And that doesn't mean you can't learn from other guys. It doesn't mean you can't have a trainer come in and help you get better at weaknesses. But he's like, "I like going in the gym by myself. I know what I need to do. I know what I do well. I know what I don't do well better than anybody either." He goes, I know my workouts. I'm disciplined.
So, are NBA trainers overrated? Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have felt like this for a while now. Is there a place for trainers? Absolutely. To Austin Rivers' point, can someone come in there? Can someone come in and help you get better at something? Absolutely. But to act as if they make the difference between winning and losing, or being a great player or not a great player, to me is where I get lost. Take Jayson Tatum, for example. His style of play was good enough to get into the NBA championship, where they lost against the Golden State Warriors. Up until that point, I saw him as a shot-happy jump shooter. He just liked shooting jump shots, and not only that, but fadeaways. He would get in his step backs and bops. All the things that he works on with his trainers. Guess when they've become dominant? When he stopped doing all of those things. And now he focuses on just getting to the basket. Simplifying the game. Post up. Get the ball on a drive. Euro. Bump. He just keeps it simple. That simplicity helped them win a championship. I think these trainers they've made the game more about the move than the actual game itself. Right? Because the trainers, okay, when you get to this spot, you got to go, you step back. And then people wonder why the IQ of the game is going down. Because I don't really care how you get to that spot, as long as you get to that spot. That's not so important to me, right? Actually, I prefer if you kept it simpler and did less moves on the way there. Requires less energy, and you just get to the point quicker. But I think the trainers are now training that into people's it becomes second nature. To now get the ball and bounce it around and do moves and tricks. We've seen historically the guys that can keep the game simpler, the ones that can score consistently over and over again and win over and over and over again. Remember, there's only like maybe 2-3 highlights in an entire game. The person that scores 30 points a game, for the most part, is doing the same shit over and over again. And the person that's doing a bunch of highlight plays, probably on the lower end of the scoring. It just is what it is. For example, for most of Kyrie's career, he's a 22, 23, maybe 24 point per game scorer. It's when he's dialed his game back to these one dribble pull-ups, just little moves here and there, just get to the shot right away, is when he's scoring 27, 28 a game. When he's not in his quote-unquote bag that everybody loves to talk about. That bag shit is overrated. Sorry, it's overrated. Because the amount of times that you actually got to go reach into your bag in a game is so far and few. That's why you see NBA players start busting out. That's why you see role players start busting out a whole bunch of shit in the summertime, because it don't work in a real NBA game. Not for everybody. And I think the other part too is I've heard players talk about going into the summertime, and they'll go with their trainer and they're working on pick and roll and going downhill. And then they get into the season and they're shooting corner threes. So At what point was the trainer gonna say to you, "Hey, I understand that you want to work on these parts of your game, but when I watch your games, you get relegated to the corner. So let's get really, really good at that. And when you get really, really good at that, it opens opportunities for you to do this other shit." So are you even watching the fucking game? For you to take a corner specialist and try to get them to do downhill pick and rolls? Like, are we good? All of the trainers, what are they doing? They're watching the best players in the league. What do you see on their pages? You see highlights, and they say, "Oh, this is how you redo the move. Okay, tween here. Okay, Hezi step back. You bring it back." They don't understand. The only reason Kyrie or whoever was able to make that play happen with those moves is because the situation, the person cut him off, they had to go the other way. That's not a predetermined move. That's why when they used to say, when I was growing up, a lot of players used to say creativity, creativity, creativity. Yeah, because you had a certain set of moves that you could do, a little step back, maybe a little spin, and it was up to you to piece them together depending on what's happening in the game. You don't go into the thing saying, "Okay, I'm going to go do a half spin into a cross tween into a step back." Motherfucker, who plays like that? Like, who does that? On the NBA level, maybe, yeah, some of you guys in pickups say, "Oh, yeah, that's how I play." You play pickup games. This is the NBA we're talking about here. They're trying to train everyone to be a number one option when there's only one number one option on every team. Think about that. 32 teams, 32 number one options. What the fuck is everybody else going to do? I want to train everybody to do goddamn step back. This is why the league look like, bro. And this leads me to the next part, which is micro versus macro managing in the NBA. And this is with coaching, right? To continue this conversation, I think a lot of the coaching now, especially with these trainers, are revolving around these moves, these shots, rather than this is how we're going to play. Right? Rather than watching the actual game and saying, "Oh shit, this is what we could do." Right? So, if you got a corner guy, why don't we build off of this corner shot? Okay, where's the pass gonna be? Where's the drop? That's why the best teams are so good, because they're playing the game, right? Like Michael Porter Jr. is a great 3-point shooter, but if you run him off the line, he can go kick it out. They know the sets, they know what's happening. Yeah, maybe they'll work on other stuff in their game, but for the most part, they do the same thing. They know what shots they're going to get, when they're going to get them, where they're going to get them. And then in the fourth quarter, Jokic and Murray takes all of the shots. That's managing the game on a macro level. The bigger part of the larger picture. This is how we're going to play our system. I feel like that's gotten a little bit lost. Running the same sets over and over again until they stop it. The only thing that gets run consistently over and over again in the NBA nowadays is a high pick and roll. But we're not doing pin downs because it don't happen no more. Where every single time you run the same play and they react differently, you have a counter to it. Because so many guys now are trying to just get it and do everything themselves. This hero ball shit. And hopefully, especially with what we've seen with the Celtics, that we're going to see teams and players, evolve into that. But honestly, bro, I don't know, because the Warriors, in my opinion, played a great brand of basketball, and it didn't fully translate. The only thing that people took away from it was the 3-point shooting. The people didn't take the backdoor cuts. People didn't take all of that shit into account. All they saw was the 3-point shooting, because people are gonna see what they want to see. So I guess there's that part as well too. Now, I wanted to talk about this because of the Paul George situation of him going to Philly, and he has a podcast that's going up pretty consistently. I know that the Nova boys with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart have it too. I do think that it's a little bit different because there's such a comedic touch when Josh Hart and Brunson speak about basketball, because there is a fine line, right? They always talk about this fraternity that they have where it's, it's just them that can really understand each other, right? The problem is when the season isn't going on, there isn't so much insight. There's just a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda, ifs, what ifs, and speculation. And I think that puts a lot of these athletes in a real vulnerable spot, because you could find yourself speaking maybe too candidly about a team or a player or a situation, and you might run, and you're going to have to face them next year. And I wonder how that'll affect players moving forward. Now, Draymond Green said some shit the other day about being the last, and it's like, you guys have been last. You guys have been out of the playoffs the last couple years, bro. You're actually talking about yourself. And you run into these situations where, yeah, maybe he's speaking truthfully from his perspective and how he feels, but now you're putting that out for everybody, including other players and other teams. I don't know. I think it's just this dicey situation, man. It's just a little weird. Obviously, I think it's great when the season is going on. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things that they could cover without having to get into like the drama and shit of the NBA. But the off season, like I said, if they're not gaming or doing something outside of basketball, I think it puts them in a really weird spot. Yeah, and I see a lot of people hating on Paul George. I like Paul George. I think he has a good podcast, a good player. But I can see why people are starting to get annoyed at him, bro. I can't even lie to you. But yeah, man, that's gonna do it for me for today. It's gonna be a short episode. We're trying to get back into the swing of things, man. There isn't really much to go on right now. Olympics is gonna be back next week, so that's gonna be something to look forward to. UFC this weekend, Deadpool this weekend. So yeah, we're gonna have some stuff to talk about, man. Especially going into next week. But excuse me. Until then, please like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit, because it really helps the channel. And as always, you could have been anywhere on the internet, but you were here with me, and I really, really fucking appreciate you for that. So thank you for joining me, man. Thank you. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Appreciate it. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Peace. Thank you, guys.